to attempt trial and error. I'm going to attempt to make a third line video on a third line day. You ever heard the quote, what will go wrong? Wait, what is it? What can go wrong will go wrong. Space engineer dude, Edward Murphy. He came up with this quote. Honestly, it's a great thing for third lines to recognize, because it's like, you know what could possibly go wrong is gonna go wrong for us. We're gonna figure it out. This video, great example of this. It's not like I just set it up and I just start recording. That's not how this works at all. First question is like, what the hell am I doing? Second question, where is the GoPro? Okay, next question, oh, it's not charged? Third line lesson, learn to check your equipment before you go to bed so that when you wake up in the morning, if you got a bomb ass idea, you can actually go record something about it. All right, so what is a third line? In human design, there are these 6 lines, right? And we stack them on top of each other. We call these lines of the hexagram. They come from something called the I Ching. Now these lines of the hexagram, they go from 1 to 6. 1 being the bottom, 6 being the top. All right, I think that's enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6. Today, we're learning about line 3, this one, right here. What does it mean to be a third line? All right, this stack right here, this little hexagram, and these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's one of the first things you might want to know about human design, because it tells you one of the patterns to look for. These numbers 1 through 6, they happen a lot. Now, of these hexagrams, there are 64 of them that we use in the human design system. All right, now it's from in this structure that we pull things for every person's design called their profile numbers. My profile numbers are 3, 6. You're always going to get 2 numbers, right? And they're going to make different combinations. My partner, manifestor, 1, 3. My son, the manifesting generator, 3, 5. Everybody is a different combination of these 2 numbers. I'm a 3, 6. The 3 side of me, very experimental, very trial and error. The 6 side of me is like, be the perfectionist, figure it out. I'm not there yet, you know? If my 6 went first, there's a good chance that this video would come out like rather perfect looking. That's not how it works for a third line. If you're a third line, you're gonna mess it up. I gotta get better about my swearing. You're gonna mess it up. You know why? That's how you're supposed to learn. In fact, the tricky thing about being a third line is you feel like you're kind of constantly banging your head against a wall, wondering when you're gonna get through your process. That's what it feels like. It feels a little bit like a curse. It's a little bit like a curse, like, I went wrong again, I messed it up again. You know, I've really embraced my, she's gonna wreck this, she's gonna get this dirty, she's gonna destroy this, you know, side of my life. Conscious third line profile. I'm bound to wreck things. You put me in a white shirt, that's the day somebody makes me spaghetti and I get it all over the front, right? I don't keep things white. And I love the fact that I'm not like, what am I gonna wear in this video? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna wreck it. I'll just wreck it. So even the process to make these, total third line process, partners a 1, 3 manifestor, initiating things with a third line body. All right, so what does that mean? It means things get messed up. This has been a total experimental process. And you know what? They didn't all turn out this good in the beginning. In fact, a lot of them got really screwed up. And we still printed shirts like that. The first shirt that got printed was like this big SZHD, and it was just a red like blob, just a big blob went across it. And you know what the manifestor did? He went and got a black Sharpie marker and outlined SZHD on it. Honestly, he made it look like a Thrasher shirt. It looked really, really cool. I think the first one, the most messed up one of all of them, honestly is probably the coolest shirt we made. But these are like accidents that work, accidents that go well. All right, so there's a phrase, and I don't know who came up with it. It's third lining. Now, I'm not gonna say that I came up with it, but I can't think of anybody else that came up with it. So we're gonna say, tentatively, I came up with this phrase called third lining. And honestly, the reason that I came up with it was because of my son, Maven, that 3-5 MG. He's very accident prone, as third lines are meant to be. And one day he comes home from school and he goes, Mom, I'm a dummy. And I was like, that's kind of weird language for my kid. What do you mean? Why are you saying that? Mom, I'm a dummy. I always wipe out. I always mess it up. I always wreck the thing. And I was like, oh, bud, you're a third line. Not only are you a third line, I'm a third line, Manifestor's a third line, your best MG friend's a third line. Almost everybody in the neighborhood that we hang out with is a third line. Like, we really shouldn't shame each other for these things. Third line just means you didn't learn it right the first time. You have to learn the hard way. So be careful, be careful. You are gonna be more accident prone. You are gonna be what you think of as more clumsy, and you are gonna have what you perceive to be as more failures. They're not failures. That's the most important thing to say to third lines. It's not a failure. You're not a failure. You didn't fail. You just haven't learned the right way to do it yet. But when you do, you're gonna know the best way to do it and how not to screw it up in the future. Okay, when the keynote is breaking the bond, you can imagine that that doesn't have a very good effect on relationships. From the outside perspective, right? You're in a relationship with someone, you break the bond. What it really means is you broke up, you separated, you disconnected, you took space in some capacity. Now, breaking the bond doesn't have to mean like, screw you, we're over, I'll never see you again. But what it does mean is right now we need some space. Either you need to sleep in a different bed, you need to go hang out with your friends, or you need to go for a drive, or you need to go get a coffee, or you need to go do something. But either way, we got to disconnect. We got to separate. Now, a lot of people who are third lines in relationships, they experience a lot of shame. That shame, yeah, they feel it, but really it's a projection from other people going, why do you keep breaking up? If you really like each other, why do you need to separate? Why do you need the distance? Why do you keep, and honestly, third line relationships, they do this. They come together, they go apart. They come together, they go apart. But there's this expectation in our society that when you come together, if you're a good relationship, you're just gonna stay together. But third lines are here to figure out what doesn't work. We go apart, we process what wasn't working, we come back together and we try again. Trial and error, try again. The third line, honestly, kind of always willing to try again. We can definitely have these kinds of relationships where we go apart and we come back together. Now that, honestly, we will call those like on again, off again relationships. Those are very natural for third lines. But you can also learn to be less extreme about it, right? Just because you need some space doesn't mean you need to break up. One of the things third lines have to learn is what's the difference between like, I need a breather and I'm done trying here. You know, we try until we learn we really can't make something happen here. But as long as we think, well, maybe if I did this thing differently, we're probably willing to try again. Here's a little hack if you're a third line in a relationship. Take time to sleep alone. Sleep in your own bed if you can. If you're fortunate enough or privileged enough to be able to have your own bed, your own room even, that's kind of like the holy grail for a third line. Because every time I separate from my person, I'm technically breaking the bond. Every time I'm getting out of the auric space of that person, I've separated, I've detached, I've gone back to my own spot. I can separate, I can break the bond here. And when I wake up in the morning, I can go greet my partner and try again that day. We've had some time apart. And honestly, it seems pretty efficient to take your time apart when you're sleeping. When you're sleeping, you don't really know what else is going on. It's not like you're missing hanging out time. You're both asleep. What does it really matter? Forced break, it was like, well, I guess I can't record for a little while. So instead, I started working on, I don't know, what are they called? Clips? Transitions, things that I know I'll be inserting into the video. So I just effed around and found out. That's actually, you know what, that's totally a third line thing. Fuck around and find out. F around and find out. I don't know if it's gonna, do I beep these things? Do I blur these things? I gotta learn not to swear, honestly. But yeah, screw around and find out. So made this coffee and then the camera stopped working. All right, so we got a transition. Did the camera really stop working, or is it me? Is it my fault? It's probably my fault. I don't know how this thing works yet. I gotta learn the hard way, trial and error. Now I know more about what just happened there, and in the meantime, what did I do? I just put my focus somewhere else. I'm still learning how to edit videos, right? I'm literally third lining this. It's like, oh, what am I gonna create here? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I never watch tutorials. I never watch tutorials. All they do is confuse me. I don't know how to do anything unless I just try. Trial and error, try. Third line work is a trial and error process. I literally don't know what I'm doing most of the time, and in that, I know I'm gonna mess it up. But that is how I learn. I don't learn from watching somebody else. I don't learn from somebody telling me what to do. I learn by going, huh, I wonder how you're supposed to make these things. And then I just try. People are giving me advice all the time, how not to mess things up. I'm not into that. I'm here to mess things up. And you know what? The more that I play, the more that I experiment, the more that I break things, honestly, the more successful I seem to be, the more it moves me ahead financially in my career. And then I can afford to buy more of the things, to continue to play with them, to continue to honestly break them.